Good morning and welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church of Reading's Sunday worship service. My name is Andy Gatchell, and I'm a member of the worship arts team. My pronouns are he and him. We welcome you here today as we join together to create a space where we nurture and explore our individual spirituality, build a committed and loving community, and help heal our world. If this is your first time with us, we are so happy to have you join us. If you're joining us online, please visit our webpage, uureading.org, to learn more about our beloved community. There you can connect with our staff. For those of us here in the sanctuary this morning, please come speak to us, to any of us you see up on the chancel in fellowship hour after the service during social hour. I don't know if you've noticed, but sometime last year I started a habit of taking one strong breath as I stand at the chancel and survey the friends who've joined us. This breath reminds me that I belong in this spot, in this moment, and that I'm ready. Before we hand the service over to Reverend Laura, let us pause now to breathe in this space and the friends around us, knowing that we belong here and that we are ready.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning. My name is Reverend Laura Solomon. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the minister here at UUCR, and it is a privilege to serve this community and the world with you. I invite you to take a breath. Arrive here this morning. Our opening words come from Nicole McKay. We gather to remember those who could not grow old and those forced to grow old long before their time. We gather to mourn and grieve with one another all of our losses, the people, the stories, the loved ones, and the futures that could have been. We gather to do the hard work of facing the difficult realities of our present and our past, where there is conflict, violence, war, and hatred. We gather to hold space for silence as we try to make meaning of our history, to help us work for peace and justice today. We gather to rekindle our source of hope for our future by recognizing in one another our shared humanity. And we join in a concerted commitment for a better tomorrow. We gather because we need community to do this holy work. Let us worship together. We light our chalice this morning with Unitarian Universalists all around the globe. I invite you to call into your heart the flame you kindle this morning, the flame of truth, of community, of commitment to love and justice. Please join me in reciting our chalice lighting words, which can be found on the laminated sheets in the backs of your pews. In the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment, we gather this day. May the flame we now kindle be to us a symbol of the holiness we seek. Each week we recite our children's affirmation as a reminder of the most important elements of who we are. I typically invite children to come up, but we have a lot going on up here this morning. So I invite you all to do our children's affirmation with me from your seats. We are Unitarian Universalists, the church of the open mind, the loving heart, and the helping hands. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing our opening hymn, number 1002 in your teal hymnal, Comfort Me. We will sing verses 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Hi, everybody. It is time for all ages, so anybody who would like to come forward, I would love for you to come up and hear a story. Thanks, Marian. Yeah, thanks for coming up. Good, got a cushion. Great to see you, everybody. We are here today for Remembrance Sunday. Have you been noticing lately how beautiful our fall season is? I bet you've been appreciating all of the colors that the leaves turn right before the end of their lives. I know I have. We are in the time of year when many plants die. So many spiritual traditions choose this time of year to honor people who have died as well. And that's what we're going to do today. But first, let's read a story. Lifetimes by Brian Maloney and Robert Ingpen. There is a beginning and ending for everything that is alive, and in between is living. All around us, everywhere, beginnings and endings are going on all the time, with living in between. This is true for all living things, for plants, for people, for birds, for fish, for trees, for animals. Nothing that is alive goes on living forever. How long it lives depends upon what it is and what happened while it was living. Sometimes living things become ill or they get hurt. Mostly, of course, they get better. But there are times when they are so badly hurt or they are so ill that they die because they can no longer stay alive. This can happen when we are young or old or anywhere in between. It may be sad, but it is the way of all things, and it is true for everything that is alive, for plants, for people, for birds, for fish, for trees, for animals. There are a lot of living things in our world, and each one has its own special lifetime. Rabbits and mice grow up in only a few weeks, and then they go on living for a year or two, crunching up carrots and nibbling cheese until they grow old and very tired, and it is time for them to die. That is how it happens for rabbits and mice. It is the way they live, and that is their lifetime. Butterflies live as butterflies for only a few weeks. Once they have dried their wings, they flutter and flit from flower to flower, and at first they are bright and quick. And as time passes, they begin to slow down until finally they can go no further. They rest for a while and then they die. That is the way butterflies live, and that is their lifetime. Birds grow up quite quickly, too. It is often no more than a few months from the time they hatch until they are strong enough to fly and feed themselves. How long they live after that seems to depend upon their size. Mostly, the bigger they are, the longer they will be alive. That is the way birds live, some for as long as 50 years, others no more than 2 or 3. However long, it is their lifetime for each one. Fish swimming in lakes and rivers or in the sea can be so tiny it's hard to tell that they are there at all, or so big that the only way to describe them is enormous. Again, as far as we know, it seems that the smaller they are, the shorter will be their lifetime, but that is how it is for fish. Their lives can be as little as a day or so, or as long as 80 or 90 years. It is the way they live, and those are their lifetimes. And people, well, like everything else that is alive, people have lifetimes too, doing all the things that people do, like growing up and being grown up. It can happen, though, just as it does with all living things, that people become ill or hurt. Mostly, they get better again. But there are times when they are so badly hurt or so ill that they die because they can no longer stay alive. It may be sad, but that is how it is for people. It is the way they live, and that is their lifetime. So no matter how long they are or how short, lifetimes are really all the same. They have a beginning, an ending, and there is living in between. That is how it is for things, for plants, for people, for birds, for fish, for animals, even the tiniest insects everywhere. That's the end. Does anybody have any questions about the story? Anything that comes up for you? Why do you think it's important to remember people who have died? Anyone have an idea? Grown-ups can speak too. Yeah.
Part of your life.
It's part of our lives. Yeah, they're part of our lives. Yeah, you're right. People who have died lived a lifetime here on earth just like we are. And even though the world is always changing, there is a lot we can learn from people who came before us. And sometimes those people put a lot of effort and care into making the world better for future generations like us. Why do you think, one more question for you, why do you think we honor people we love who have died together in our community at church? Any thoughts? Charlie? Yeah. What do you think? Because we like them. Yeah. Or we love them. Yeah. When we're together, we can support each other. When a person or a pet dies, they aren't here with us in the same way that they used to be, and we might miss them. And even after a long time goes by, it could be years and years, we might still miss them. When we're here in community, we're reminded that we're not alone. I bet all of us, or almost all of us, knows a person or a pet who has died. If you know a person or a pet who has died, put a hand on your heart. can take a moment to look around and notice everybody who has felt this experience too. Let's take a breath. When we think of them, lots of feelings might come up. We might feel sad and want to cry. We might feel happy as we remember what we loved about them. We might smile, recalling a funny memory we have with them. Even though they're not here in their bodies anymore, there is a way that they are still with us and we can still feel them. They are in our memories that live in our hearts. So that is why every year we make sure we remember them. Thanks, everybody. We can go back to our seats.
We take time during our service to light our candles of community, peace, and justice. We light our red candle of community to signify our interconnection. Wherever you are in time or space, newcomer or longtime member, here in the sanctuary or joining us virtually, we light this candle, holding you in love. I invite you to speak aloud the name or names of people on your mind and heart this morning, that we might bring them fully into this space. We light our blue candle of peace for all the places worldwide where people live with the threat of war and violence. And we light our yellow candle of justice. As we begin the final days moving towards the U.S. election, we pray that we might be grounded. As the tensions and energies rise around us, we know everyone benefits when we are able to calm our nervous systems and show up as our best selves. We pray that we might ground and calm ourselves and that this energy will reach out into the world. May all people everywhere live their lives in freedom. And may we each do our part in the work for justice and liberation for all in our global community. As we recommit ourselves to this work of love and justice, please voice your commitment by saying amen. Amidst the busyness of our lives, it is essential that we take time for silence. I invite you into a time of quiet and meditation, after which Bonnie and Chris and Ruth will take us through a period of musical meditation. Please remain seated.
Just as there are many different reactions to grief, there are also many different types of grief. Today, we're going to focus on 4 different types of grief. You will have the opportunity during our ritual to honor each type of grief. We're going to begin with some definitions. As I read each of these definitions, Reverend Laura is going to light a candle for each one. As I read the definition, if it resonates with you and your experience, I invite you to stand or raise your hand so this grief may be witnessed by the community. We start with disenfranchised grief. Disenfranchised grief, or invisible loss, is a grief over a loss that is not typically publicly acknowledged. Examples include things like the loss of a pet, abortions, miscarriages, and infertility. It could be the loss of an ex-partner, the death of an online friend, or the death of a person you never knew, but to whom you were connected, like an absent parent or an unknown sibling. If you're grieving an invisible loss or living with disenfranchised grief, I invite you to stand or raise your hand as Reverend Laura lights this candle. Our next type of grief is what most of us think of when we hear the word grief. Grief following the death of a loved one. There is no time limit on grief, and we know the effects of a death are far-reaching. If you are living with grief, I invite you to stand or raise your hand as Reverend Laura lights this candle. Thank you. Collective grief is the grief experienced by a group, the grief a town, a country, a community experiences following a tragedy or crisis. The pandemic caused collective grief. War brings on collective grief. Mass shooting events, community violence, the climate crisis. We are all living with the weight of collective grief. I invite you to write your grief on the leaf you received as you came in this morning. We will use these leaves later during our ritual to share our collective grief. If you didn't receive a leaf, raise your hand and Melissa or the ushers will bring you. Okay. Reverend Laura now lights our candle in recognition of our collective grief. Oh, she did already. Oh. Well, ambiguous grief is grief that arises when the person you love is still physically present, but their communication, personality, or behaviors change. This can occur with changes in relationships such as divorce, estrangement, or incarceration. Chronic illness, physical disability, loss of a body part, or loss of function can cause ambiguous grief. Changes in personality or functioning caused by mental illness or dementia can cause ambiguous grief. If you are living with ambiguous grief, I invite you to stand or raise your hand as Reverend Laura lights this candle. Thanks. We remember that our grief is valid and real, that grief is a normal, expected, healthy response to loss and love. We hold all of our grief together.
Thank you. Let's take a breath together. Lesson 13 of the Chalice Children curriculum, a curriculum for children ages 2 to 5 years old, teaches children about feeling sad. As a religious community, it teaches our goal is to help one another, including our smallest humans, to develop the resources for managing the ups and downs of life, the joys and sorrows. Memorial services and honoring the dead has always been part of religious life, and we are all part of holding that for and with one another. The curriculum has children name loved things they have lost: family members, pets, beloved toys. And together they create a memorial service for these losses. Grandparents and goldfish and broken toy trucks are honored, and the feelings held with love and ritual by the children and their teachers. I love our Unitarian Universalist religious education because it teaches our children the importance of ritual. It teaches them the importance of community. It teaches them to name the hard things together. It teaches them how to hold the hard things that others bring with them. And that is exactly what we do today. That is what we do here in worship with people of all ages. We are reminded of the importance of ritual and remembering, the importance of pausing and naming our losses together. We pause and remind ourselves of some of the hard things that others bring with them. We remind our children that it is okay to feel sad, that feeling sad or feeling other emotions is normal and okay and expected when we lose someone or something that we love. And yet, some of the most frequent questions that I get as a minister are surrounding this issue of feelings and reactions. Is it normal that I still talk to him even though I know he's gone? Is it okay that I get so angry that they're gone that I scream and cry in my car? Is it normal that I want to have a ritual honoring my body and the loss of this function after the surgery? Is it okay that I didn't cry when he died? Is it okay that I feel relieved? Is it normal to feel this way about a pet? My answer to all of these questions, and basically every question that starts with, is it normal or is it okay, is yes. These reactions are human and they are yours, and so of course they are okay. If these reactions do not cause harm to you or someone else, then yes, they are certainly within the realm of expected and normal and okay. There are many types of grief and many responses to grief. We honor and welcome and hold all of them with love and understanding here this morning. So I invite you forward into a time of ritual and remembrance. We have 4 tables to honor the 4 types of grief we named today. The first honors disenfranchised grief. If you are living with disenfranchised or invisible grief, you are invited to drop a stone into the water. If you are not living with this type of grief, you are invited to witness and send love to those living with invisible grief. The second honors grief and loss. You are invited to light a candle honoring the person or people you have lost. If you are not living with grief, you are invited to witness and send love to those living with grief. The third table honors our collective grief. If you are living with collective grief, write it on your leaf if you have not already done so, and place your leaf on the table. And the final table is for ambiguous grief. If you are living with ambiguous grief, you are invited to drop a stone into the water, and if not, you are invited to witness and send love to those in our midst who are. Please come down this side of the sanctuary, walk across, engage with the tables as feels right for you, and then return to your seats via the right side. You may come forward now. Let's take one more breath together. Spirit of life and love, be with us in our grief. May we witness one another and hold ourselves and each other with tenderness and with love. Amen.
Sunday, UUCR gives away half the money received in the collection plate to a nonprofit organization that shares our UU values. It's a simple yet powerful way for each of us to help heal the world. Our Share of the Plate recipient for the month of October is the North Shore Alliance of Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Youth, NAGLY. NAGLY's mission is to honor, respect, educate, and empower LGBTQ youth ages 10 to 23. They offer programs, meetings, clubs, activities, and events for LGBTQ youth, their families, and allies, so they can come and support one another. Our congregation survives through the gifts of those who call this place their spiritual home. If you're here with us in the sanctuary, you may put your gift in the plate as it goes by. Otherwise, you can make a gift online or send a check. Please give as generously as you're willing and able to our Share the Plate offering to support the North Shore Alliance of Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Youth and the mission of UUCR. If this is your first time with us, please let the plate pass you by. Your presence is gift enough.
Thank you, choir, for the exceptional music ministry today. Thank you, Dr. Bonnie Anderson, our music director, and our featured musicians, Ruth Clogston and Chris West. Thank you. I am Melissa Martin, the Member Services and Volunteer Coordinator, and my pronouns are she and her. And I want to just start by sharing that our congregation is congregant-led, and it's fueled by the talent, resources, and conviction of individual members. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into the sacrifices to keep things healthy and moving here. There are members who donate items for the betterment and safety of the church, and those who take on small projects and large. And for all of those selfless acts of kindness, seen and unseen, we thank you. If you're wondering if there's a small way that you can participate in the life of the congregation, there is. And I'm the one who can help guide you to find a match for your time and your skills. It may just be a Sunday morning when you're periodically ushering or hosting social hour, or it could be helping refiling our name tags each week, or in lending inspiration to the monthly messages on our wayside pulpit outside of church. There are many low commitment, big impact opportunities for you to help us to make this world a better place by living fully into our mission. The biggest upcoming opportunity is the Kris Kringle Fair, and we could really use you to help make it a success. There are so many volunteer opportunities, big and small, that are still available, so please go see Martha at the Kris Kringle Fair table in Fellowship Hall after service, and there's also more information in the newsletter for those watching this at home. Special thanks to our small but mighty group of friends who spent the past weekend raking our campus leaves. Once again, this volunteer project was driven by the dedication and leadership of a member. Thank you, Martha. Our Committee on Ministry reminds us that the time for us to bring our collective goals into focus for the hiring of our next minister is rapidly approaching. And if you have hopes, fears, or dreams that you'd like to share and haven't been able to attend any of the workshops yet, please email the Committee on Ministry by November 1st with your ideas, or to request for a phone call. They would love to hear you, and the information is in our newsletter. In our congregational life this week, please check the newsletter for opportunities to connect with our Buddhist meditation group, Bread and Roses meal prep team, and the men's group. Also, if you're cleaning out your closets this week, please consider the clothing drive that we're doing for the Ukrainian Support Project next week. A list of accepted donations is in the newsletter, and they'll be collected in Sawyer House all of next week. Next Sunday is one of the busiest Sundays of the church year. Just a reminder that it's also the end of daylight savings time, and that means we get to fall back and gain an extra hour of sleep, hopefully giving us the energy we need to work together at church that day. As the election gets closer, Reverend Laura has created a beautiful packet of daily practice to practice calm, reflection, and regulation, and you'll receive an entire link-heavy packet via email tomorrow with daily prompts. If you do need a paper copy, please come and see me. We'll begin here next Sunday for our last service before the election at 10 a.m. service led by Reverend Laura, entitled Preparation, Persistence, Positivity, and Prayer. And then we'll head to Fellowship Hall, grab a snack before we take on the setup of the fair. There'll be so many ways to help and something for everyone to do, and I cannot think of a better way to start our week together. For today, you're invited to stay for our social hour after service. Related to today's service, I've actually left a table full of some of my personal books in the atrium for you to peruse, titles that have accompanied me on my personal and professional journeys that are related to grief and the dying. For those of you interested in learning more about our small group ministry called Chalice Circles, stay right here in the sanctuary, where I will describe to you that meeting format, introduce you to some of our leaders, and give you an opportunity to sign up for the Chalice Circles that will be beginning after the fair. Thank you all for being a vital part of our congregational life. And now, please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, number 1001, Breaths.
Yeah.
I recommend going home and looking up the song Breaths by Sweet Honey in the Rock. Their version is incredible. Please join me in our words to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our opening words said, we gather because we need community to do all of this holy work. This work of remembering, of grieving, of naming our grief. This is holy work. As we go out into our lives, let us remember that we do not do this work alone. Blessed be.